Hi everyone and welcome to CBC Live at TIFF. I'm Jamie Ordolis. I'm with CBC News' Eli Glasner, arts reporter and film critic, and a tired guy, I think, on day 7 of the International Film Festival here in Toronto.
Third win. Ugh, let's go.
So you have been covering, all the films, talking to the biggest and best stars. Today we have Brandon Cronenberg right here. I'm so excited.
I loved Antiviral, so I can't wait. And last time I talked to him was before I saw the film, so now I have so much to say and ask.
Totally different story. Great, so we're going to have fun today. On day 7, after being so tired, you just sat through To the Wonder, which I'm excited about, Terrence Malick's latest. How was it?
Very disappointing. I mean, to be honest, I loved Tree of Life. It was my favorite film of last year. And To the Wonder, Ben Affleck, actually, and another reporter, said it makes Tree of Life look like the Transformers. And that's true. This is a
Because of its pacing?
Because of its lack of story. Because it is a vapid but beautifully put together piece of puffery. There's an old thing in screenwriting, show, don't tell, but a little bit of telling, just a little is okay. Instead, what we have is just 2 hours of beautiful stuff. Rachel McAdams standing in a field with buffalo, Ben Affleck looking off into the distance, and someone whispers, "But what is love? Do you love me?" More standing in the field, more clouds. It was actually really quite frustrating. I think Malick has an addiction to beauty, and it's getting in the way of his work.
God, my answer to that, Eli, is I love you. That was a scathing but very funny review of something that I did not expect to be funny. So I guess you could have gone to Argo instead.
I should have gone to. I was afflicted by which Affleck movie to see, and I didn't go see Argo because I'm being a good critic, and who knows if To the Wonder will come back. But now I have regret. Malick regret.
Well, thanks for that anyways. You might
do it for you.
Maybe yes, you will make the right choice in future. All right. So one of last night's big red carpets was Great Expectations, starring Ralph Fiennes, Helena Bonham Carter, and this is the first classical adaptation of Great Expectations since 1946. But of course, there have been so many adaptations of the novel by Dickens on television, the BBC, etc., in between, and we know very well the one starring Ethan Hawke and Gwyneth Paltrow. So on the red carpet, here we see all the stars, the gorgeous stars as Pip and Estella, Jeremy Irvin and Holiday Granger. There they are, and Ralph Fiennes. I'm a huge fan of his. Yes. He is a guy who can carry the weight of a novel to film if anyone can. Of course, the director of this film also directed one of the Harry Potters. Ralph Fiennes did Coriolanus right before this. He's going to be in James Bond after this. I love him from The English Patient, also based on a great novel. So
and these big epic adaptations now are very much in vogue at TIFF, right?
Absolutely.
Anna Karenina.
Yes.
We were going to see The Great Gatsby this winter, but they pushed that back, Baz Luhrmann's adaptation. So seeing a lot of these, it'll be interesting to see how this one does.
Yes, and so on the red carpet, Deanna was on that red carpet, and she asked Ralph about why these movies keep coming back, these adaptations of great novels, and from a guy who knows it best, this is what he had to say.
The great classics in some way touch the sort of human dilemma, relationships in an essential way. They sort of put their nerve on some essential thing in the human heart between relationships between men and women, and I think if a great writers like Tolstoy or Dickens, they will just touch something that everyone recognizes, despite the fact that it was written 100 years ago, 150 years ago, and so that's why these works of literature still resonate with meaning for us, and they've always lent themselves to film interpretation, and they will continue to do so. I'm sure Anna Karenina will be made again, and I'm sure Great Expectations will be made again.
Thank you so. He plays such intense roles. It's almost strange to see him laugh that way.
Yeah, oh, he's a nice guy. You're like, oh, it's okay, I'll relax now. He's not Voldemort.
Exactly. So let's take a look at last night's TIFF Star Style, Eli. Get ready. So first up is Rachel McAdams.
All right.
Disregard what you, what you thought of
everything I said.
To the Wonder. This is the red carpet for Passion.
A little bit of an 80s thing. I mean, you kind of connect with her today. The glitter there. Oh, I didn't see the pants though. Bold choice. What do you think?
She's got a bit of a rocker vibe going for sure, and I'll tell you that the roots on blonde automatically make you look 80s. So you almost have to go to that place.
Making the roots work for you. Exactly. That's good. Don't fight them, embrace them.
Now I don't know if you saw Passion, but because it's a sexual, erotic thriller, this worked. A bit of a sexier look for Rachel. All right, Marissa Tomei up next. She was at the premiere of the Canadian film Inescapable. Now she's been a big style star in the past. This is John Saunders. I'm not sure about it. You gave it an
No, I like
really?
the color. I think it's actually quite sweet and kind of, timeless in a way. And then she's not trying to be too sexy, too provocative. And for this film that takes on some really mature content in terms of what's happening in Syria and stuff. And there's, you could, if you squint, you could kind of see a Middle Eastern flair there. So I think it works. And she was amazing in that film. And
incredible looking as well. I would have given something a little more shape to Marissa Tomei. But I see where you're coming with her potentially the decision making process. All right. Oh, no, it's Audrey Tautou. She is wearing Prada, which surprises me because she is a Dior girl, usually. What do you think of this? She's a French beauty, if ever there was one.
I mean, it's very classic in a way. I'm not sure about the updo. I mean, that it looked like it needed to be a little more finished. I mean, especially, French, elegant, especially with her. And so it seemed a little just, a bobby, what do you have there? Okay, we're done, let's go.
It looked like something I would wear to work on a good day. And I know the French are understated, but I agree with you. Good call, Eli. She should have done it up a bit more as a big beauty. All right, we're very excited now because we are welcoming Brandon Cronenberg. Is he here yet? We need to know from our floor director. All right, so Brandon, before you come on, we're about to show our audience a clip from Antiviral. Guys, this is one of the biggest, best Canadian pictures of the festival.
Do you not agree that the mania surrounding celebrity is reaching an unhealthy level?
No, I don't. My clients want to feel more connected to those people that they see in the magazines and on television.
Enjoy.
So far, I've had all her diseases.
Must have been expensive.
Is there any way you could spread it?
What happened to Anna, guys?
It's pretty shocking.
We're really happy to have Brandon Cronenberg here, the director and writer of a film called Antiviral that we both saw and loved. Brandon, thanks so much for coming to chat with us today. We're really excited. So where did this dystopian society idea of people who are more celebrity obsessed than even we are, where did that seed first take root?
Well, it was 2004. I was in film school. I've been writing it for about 8 years on and off before I got a chance to make it. And I was incredibly sick, and I was in bed with this flu, and I was having a fever dream and sort of obsessing over the physicality of illness and how I had something in my body and in my cells that had come from someone else's body. And there seemed to be a kind of a weird intimacy to that connection. And afterwards, I sort of tried to think of a character who might see disease in that intimate way, and I thought a celebrity-obsessed fan who might want, Angelina Jolie's cold as a way of feeling some physical connection to her wouldn't be too implausible. And from there, it sort of developed into what I thought was an interesting metaphor for.
Now, normally I wouldn't, delve into someone's personal life, but since you've, this is a bit of an editorial. There's definitely, part of you, very much like part of the celebrities is in this film, and so I have to ask. I mean, growing up as a Cronenberg and seeing your father and yourself become part of the media conversation, where there is all that talk, how does that feel as actually being on the inside?
Well, I mean, growing up, I wasn't part of that conversation, but I certainly saw, there's an enormous disconnect between celebrities and the human beings, which isn't a really novel insight, but I think when you sort of see it personally, it's still shocking the degree to which celebrities are really these sort of these fictionalized characters, and the media.
But I mean, certainly a lot of people have talked about that idea, but what's great about Antiviral is if you've made it you found a way to actually make it more than a metaphor. It is something
to
that we trade
depict when
around.
people want a piece of you, grafted to their skin, to consume it, to share your cold sore.
Now, talking about your inner circle, though, we had a chance to talk to Nick Campbell, who was talking about his own experience with you, I guess, before the film and then after. Let's take a look to what Nick had to say.
How did you end up in this really disturbing, creepy, gross film?
Well, I was lucky I didn't have to read for it. Probably because I used to babysit Brandon when he was a little kid. His dad and I were friends, you know. So when he come down to LA when I was living there, he'd drop his kid off at my house sometimes. So he just offered it to me. I had to meet him once, and he satisfied himself, I guess, that I'd be okay for it.
What was Brandon like as a little kid? Did he do gross things with his snot, or what?
No, he was a sweet little kid. I don't know what's going on in that mind, but he's just a sweet kid. He was adorable, very good looking, with his huge, intense eyes and all this hair he had and everything. He was very good. And I had a son close to the same age, and so it was pretty cool.
I don't know if you can be the next horror master if you're being called a sweet kid. I think that might kind of undercut his cred a bit.
I think you can. I think especially, you were just talking about how great his mustache is.
His mustache is spectacular. He really has something going on with the mustache right now.
All right, so you didn't always want to be a filmmaker, though, we heard. When we listen to this clip, we don't really get that sense, but we've read about you. Why is that?
Well, I think partly I wasn't a huge cinephile or anything. Growing up, I was much more into books. I was a book nerd, and I'm still pretty much a book nerd. But also, I guess, because of my father, a lot of people had these sort of approached me with preconceptions about who I was and what I wanted to do, and he must love film and want to be a director, and it kind of was pretty obnoxious. So I took great pleasure in being able to tell them that I had no interest in film whatsoever. And then at a certain point in my life, it kind of seemed like a bad reason to not do something that could be potentially interesting.
And that you're so good at.
Now talking about, you call yourself a book nerd, you have a background in a whole bunch of different areas. The style of this film, one of the things I really enjoyed is that it's just such a very I feel like it was perfectly composed, and you really knew what you wanted to put up there on the screen. But what were you inspired by to get that kind of sterile, Apple iPod kind of look that we see there?
It wasn't any specific inspiration. No? I mean, people have done the sterile white thing before. It's not that no one's done it, but I thought in this case it would be useful for a few reasons. For one thing, it's a great way of controlling the frame. If there's the clinic, say it's white walls, and then you have these celebrity faces in light boxes on the walls.
The
and
starkness
so
of that image.
It kind of elevates that image of the face and draws the eye to the face. And same with blood. There's a blood theme that runs throughout the film, and so blood pops against a white background, and it lends it this significance. But also I was interested in I guess that disconnect between celebrities as these sort of theoretical people, these like icons, these deities, and then the animal reality of the human body beneath that. And so having the clinical element and then the dirtier
the contrast
element.
To the butcher shop.
Yeah, exactly.
All right. Well, speaking of blood, we have Sarah Gadden actually talking about the blood in the movie and how she worked with it, I guess. Let's take a look.
I love how you say gross and I start smiling. I'm like, yeah, all the gross stuff. Remember all the gross stuff? The grossest stuff for me was coughing up blood, and in the scene that I actually do that, I actually started choking on the blood because I was lying down, holding it throughout the take in my mouth, waiting for the moment where I would wake up and cough it up. And then I just started choking, and I actually started really choking and coughing up this blood. And after we called cut, everyone was like, oh, are you okay? Are you okay? And so that was pretty gross when it actually happened.
God, I love how the blood really did pop in that movie, and there was a lot. Do you guys have a blood guy, a flesh guy? You worked in special effects yourself at some point, right?
Yeah, for a little while. I didn't spend about a year or two. Yeah, I mean, we had a makeup artist and props people.
Lots of blood in the movie. And of course, Sarah was so great, and Caleb-Landry Jones is so great. Like, they're beautiful, of course, and they stand out against the whiteness of the film. How did we know a bit how you chose Sarah? Of course, she was in A Dangerous Method. What about Caleb?
Well, Caleb, I mean, I had actually seen him in X-Men, and he was like, for that movie, surprisingly interesting, and he stood out. But I hadn't thought of looking to X-Men, obviously, for casting inspiration, because it's a different film. But we saw some clips when we were looking around at actors and of other things that he had done, and we all got extremely excited. We were in the production office and crowded around this laptop, and it was just like, you know, he has that thing that's hard to articulate that's somehow extremely fascinating.
Well, I saw him on the carpet with his dad, and he's got he's from Texas, and that's certainly a part of it. So I mean, maybe, and in the film it comes across, he comes from somewhere else, and there's kind of, he holds himself a little differently. Maybe that's part of it.
He's got those great blue eyes like yours, and with Nick on that one, and Sarah's.
Yeah, I mean, I imagine it's not just Texas, though.
Right.
He's just an incredible nuanced physical actor.
Very much so. You could see that.
Has something great about him.
And you definitely worked that out of him for sure. We really enjoyed the movie. Dying to know what's up next for you.
I'm writing, and hopefully I'll get to make another movie.
And we hope to have you here again. It's so nice to have, you know, all these great Canadian filmmakers that we actually get to spend time with and learn so much more about your film by talking about you. We also enjoy Sarah Gadon, who we've spent a lot of time with as her career has built. And as we say goodbye to you, we're going to share with our audience a profile of Sarah and how her career has been developing.
Oh, great.
Thanks so much, Brandon.
Oh, thanks so much.
Good job.
Thanks for having me.
Sarah Gadon is well on her way to joining the ranks of Hollywood's hottest Canadian exports.
I don't like saying this.
But
You smell of sex.
Fresh from living out every teen and Twymom's dream playing Robert Pattinson's wife in David Cronenberg's Cosmopolis, Sarah's back at TIFF starring in another Cronenberg film. Not from David this time, but his offspring. Brandon Cronenberg is certainly taking after Dad, and he's handed Sarah an unforgettable role in his deliciously creepy new thriller, Antiviral. But Sarah's career really started taking root on the CBC.
What the hell is going on?
Her first recurring roles came on 2 CBC TV shows. First, The Border.
Can't hurt, right?
Followed by Being Erica.
Oh, careful! Katie?
Last year, Sarah was named one of the first TIFF Rising Stars, a significant honor to snag.
And then give you kind of an all-access pass to the pool of resources that you can really get here.
Next up for Sarah, just a leading role alongside Jake Gyllenhaal. She's starring in Denis Villeneuve's follow-up to his Oscar-nominated and Genie-winning film, Incendie. All right, everyone, make sure to check out Antiviral at TIFF or in theaters when its major release happens. Next up is some of our favorite TIFF moments. We've had quite a few of them. Eli, I am jealous because you got to talk to one of my favorite directors of all time and writers, Joss Whedon.
Yeah, this was definitely a TIFF highlight for me. I started by saying just thank you, Joss, for making it cool to be a comic book geek again. I mean, he's done
thank him as well, yeah.
Avengers to Buffy to Dollhouse, Hulk, one of my favorite characters.
Absolutely.
Rocked in the Avengers. And now he's making a Shakespeare film. He's made a Shakespeare film.
Much Ado About Nothing.
Filmed it with his friends in the backyard. Now, the interesting thing that I find fascinating about Joss Whedon is that he is the writer's writer. I mean, really what Hollywood is coming to him now, they're giving him these properties saying, this doesn't work. We don't know how to make a movie out of this, like the Avengers. It's too big, it's crazy. And he's making a TV series now about S.H.I.E.L.D., which in the comics is kind of this dull, weird spy agency. He's going to make that work now. But how do you put your stamp on Shakespeare, who is Shakespeare, the bard, right? And so as brilliant as Joss is, what is he going to get out of that, and how does he make that his own? We had a chance to talk to him about it, and here's what he had to say.
Somebody else's text, and really trying to understand it on a level that no matter how many times I've seen it or read it, I never had to, where I have to take every line and go, okay, well, what is this? How does this relate to this? And every character has to matter and has to have a motivation. and has to have, you know, a guiding principle, and, you know, has to pop. I can't ask my friend to come over and, you know, be the guy who's standing there doing nothing. He's got to be a reason for everybody, and finding your way through that when it doesn't come from you is, and you know you can't rewrite it. The challenge of it makes you work hard. It's exciting. It's, you know, it's almost like math, only I'm better at it. Now, I'm not saying I'm a great filmmaker. I'm just saying I'm better at that than math.
When I look at the industry these days, it seems to me that there's a bit of a dichotomy. You can either have the $300 million superhero battling robots, what have you, film, or you can make a movie in your house with your friends for, I don't know what your budget was, but I'm sure it was
slightly less.
Yes, much less. And so there's kind of a split now in the industry, and it seems like that middle ground is fading away. So how do you feel about kind of the health of Hollywood these days?
I do not feel good about the health of Hollywood. I feel as though it's shedding. The studio system is working less and less, and you know, I actually heard the phrase, "Oh, that studio, they're eliminating the middle movie."
Really?
Yeah, they're not doing the, you know, $30 million movie anymore. They're doing, you know, it's all or nothing, and that's not a way to live. Like, you know, there's a reason for those movies. There's a reason for all of them, and I think eventually they'll find their way back in. But in the meantime, the smaller budget movies are becoming those movies because the technology is allowing them to. We don't have to wait for a studio to say, yes, we'll finance this romantic comedy. We can just shoot it ourselves.
So what's so interesting about that, and you mentioned a bit about it before, is that he directed The Avengers. Like, is it the biggest budget movie of the year? Maybe, potentially. And then Much Ado About Nothing is something that he shot in his own home, you said?
In his backyard.
Wow.
With his friends, while he was still editing The Avengers. You know, the story is, they were about to go on vacation, him and his wife said, you know what, don't go on vacation, make this movie with your friends. Because he'd always been having them come over in his backyard to do Shakespeare readings. He's that much of a Shakespeare buff. So this was kind of her gift to him, and they just kind of threw it together.
Sounds like a good time. We should do that, Eli. After TIFF, that's what we're doing. All right, one of my favorite moments was being at the Q After Dark party, because I really enjoyed celebrating with Canadians in the industry this year. And, you know, we got some fun opportunities like today with Brandon. So we have a video of that party, celebrating Q and Gian. Let's check it out.
This is going to be fun, seeing what Gian's got to play with here in the penthouse of this Target hotel.
This seems to be the place.
I really respect Gian, and I think he's an amazing journalist and just person in general, so I'm so excited to be here.
I am an enormous fan. Everything is so smart and to the point and interesting.
Gian is like the coolest guy in the country. I mean, I absolutely adore him.
I did the show the other day, was incredibly impressed by him as an interviewer. He's always able to come up with questions you don't hear elsewhere. He makes you think.
Gian interviewed me the first time when I did a ballet called The Contract, and I actually didn't know who he was at the time. I mean, when he was starting out, and he was just the friendliest guy ever. So, since then, he's become such a huge star. So it's pretty awesome that. Yeah, we're gonna get to see him tonight.
The guy is amazing, and you know, it's an honor to call him a friend. And you know, I was really happy he invited me on his show, and he was really personable, and he asked a lot about what I care about.
I'm so pleased for him that he's had such tremendous success, so I'm happy to share in that with him tonight.
You're brave. Nice. We don't want to make you feel awkward, but we love you.
His ability to connect with Canadians and the way he does his interviews is just fantastic. I'm a huge fan.
All right, so Gian has also had some major Canadian celebrity and international celebrity interviews, cbc.ca/Q to check those out. Eli, any more tips for enjoying the rest of the festival?
Go see a movie where you don't know what it is. Yesterday I had the best experience of the fest. I saw Ill Manners, didn't really know anything about it, amazing British hip-hop adventure, and then a movie was full, so I went to see Kinshasa Kids. It's kind of a pseudo-documentary about these street kids. Amazing stuff. Blew me away. And I didn't know what I was going to see until I sat down into that chair. You have to open yourself to experiences at TIFF and just find your next favorite film.
Good advice. Let the festival take you where it will. And of course, we've got those 2 titles. Okay, everybody, we're back tomorrow. Check out full coverage from CBC of TIFF at cbc.ca/TIFF. Follow us at CBC Live. Eli, you are at?
Glassner on Film on Twitter.
Perfect. We'll see you guys tomorrow. Thank you very much, Eli. Let's have a good rest of the festival day.
All right, see you.